Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to WWE Worlds Collide 2020. I actually took some notes during this event off of my computer. I didn't really catch every little bit of action that occurred because I was trying to pay attention to what I was typing for the major highlights that I wanted to talk about, or just gave my overall opinion in these notes on what was going on. I gotta say, good action, hard, stiff wrestling, very strong style type wrestling that occurred during this event. So let's get into it. Finn Balor versus Dragunov. I gotta say, Dragunov is like Finn Balor. He has very similar style to Balor, as many of the announcers have mentioned leading up to this event. Within a week or two build that it got. It had some hard-hitting moves and very stiff shots throughout the match also. I don't understand why the fans were booing Dragunov throughout this match. And Finn Balor delivered a double stomps that looks so painful. I mean, he just hits these stomps on his opponents that are so fucking hard. And I mean, I don't even understand how these guys are able to sustain these kind of hits. It's just fucking unreal. He also, Finn Balor, though, during the matchup, as the match went on, Finn Balor suffers a major bad cut on the bridge of the nose after a coast-to-coast dropkick to the head. But Balor comes back with the dropkick into the corner, and then a coup de grace, followed by the 1916 to finish the match. Balor wins the match. I give it a 3.5 out of 5 stars. Might actually give it a little bit more than that, maybe a 4 possibly, just to be generous, because going over everything, seeing everything that occurred as I took these notes, I have to say maybe this match deserved a little bit more than 3.5, possibly a 4. After the match was over, we actually go to an interview with the young grizzled veterans and Matt Riddle and Pete Dunne. This segment was very entertaining, very funny, also very serious at the same time. James Drake, he talked about how he couldn't understand how they made it this far into the finals, because they have no experience as tag team wrestlers. They never tag teamed together, nor have they ever had any experience of tag team competition. Dunne and Riddle come back with marijuana references and how they will go on to win the Dusty Classic tournament. Just to abbreviate what was said, they did make some things that were very, towards the marijuana realm, such as the fact that Pete Dunne, after Matt Riddle goes off on his little tangent and how he felt about what they said, Pete Dunne goes off and says, "Well, I'm going to be blunt for a moment," and the whole audience went crazy. I started laughing. I'm like, oh my god, these people are referencing to fucking marijuana reference. That's hilarious. So I had to put that in there in my notes. I thought that was fucking great. How they were, allowing references of marijuana in this segment, I thought was awesome. So yeah, that was pretty funny. NXT Cruiserweight Championship match was on next. Angel Garza versus Isaiah Swerve Scott versus Travis Banks versus Jordan Devlin. This match, guys, off the fucking hook. I mean, really off the hook. Just some of the things I wrote down here. This match started out with some great combinations by everyone to start off the match. A plethora of leaps to the outside by everyone as the match went on. Travis Banks had plenty of offense on everyone for 5+ minutes straight. Devlin actually hits a beautiful tornado DDT later on during the match on Isaiah Scott. Isaiah Scott really suffered a lot of the offensive maneuvers performed on him throughout. I don't even recognize him at all being on the offense during this match, which is pretty sad, actually, because he's a very good talent. And he actually, Jordan Devlin hits this tornado DDT on Scott after he's avoids from being flipped to the outside. There's a spot where Garza had Devlin in a body slam and Banks on his shoulders as if he was performing a power bomb. And then Scott went to the top rope and hit a double stomp onto Banks' shoulders to knock everyone down, as if it was a Tower of Doom type maneuver in the corner, only this was on the middle part of the ring, which was pretty fucking sick. Jordan Devlin stops Angel Garza from getting the pinfall after hitting a wing cutter on Isaiah Scott. Again, as I mentioned, Scott really did suffer a lot of the maneuvers to himself. And after the pinfall was stopped, there was a maneuver by Jordan Devlin to perform he hits a high velocity back German suplex to Scott for Devlin to get the victory and become the new NXT Cruiserweight Champion. Folks, I can't do this justice. My notes can't do this justice. You have got to see the match. It was fucking great. This match was a 4 out of 5 stars. Most definitely. I believe after this match was over, there was a segment with Dakota Kai being highlighted in the stands. And out of nowhere, Tegan Nox appears, which I thought was fucking great. The fans went crazy. Nobody expected Tegan Nox to just show up out of fucking nowhere and start kicking the shit out of Dakota Kai here, which I thought was very shocking. And they were building a match for them next week, getting you hyped up and interested in actually maybe catching their show over AEW. Very smart move by NXT, may I add. So, just a little thing I want to throw out there to you guys. I may actually watch NXT over AEW live, because NXT has been providing better shows when it comes to wrestling quality. AEW is not horrible. I'm not degrading them or saying I hate them. They just are not delivering at the level of NXT. They are delivering on good storylines. AEW is doing that, but the wrestling is kind of like somewhat good, somewhat off. You know, it's like it doesn't really get you interested heavily to watch because we see it week to week basis. But for whatever reason, NXT just keeps delivering these high-octane matches, or at least good shows, where they give you some kind of build towards these shows that are coming up that you're going to want to watch. So they get you interested in that stuff. So the next match after that was DIY versus Mustache Mountain. This match was average. It was a generic tag team match that was good. I will say that. Very classy matchup, may I add. There was no backstabbing. There was no cheating. There was good action throughout. I will say that. It was a good tag team match. Very fun, but nothing to get your hopes all crazy over. I will say this. I would love to see a match between Gargano versus Tyler Bate one-on-one. I would really like to see that. I believe that they would actually put on a classic there. The match did start off slow, though, but there was good sportsmanship. In the match, Ciampa nailed a beautiful knee to the Bate to the outside. And then Gargano delivered a super kick to Trent Seven on the apron. This match had a lot of hard-hitting spots, and by the mid-portion of this match, the fans were really getting into it. They were both cheering for DIY and Mustache Mountain. Half the crowd for Mustache Mountain, half the crowd for DIY, of course. DIY eventually got the victory with the knee in the middle, which basically, description of that, because I don't think I got the name of it down correctly, but this move is actually where Gargano delivers a super kick with Ciampa hitting a knee to the back of the opponent's head. And then the match ends the way it started, with some great sportsmanship, with them shaking hands and giving each other a good friendly hug. And that's basically it for that match. This match I will give a 3.5 out of 5 stars because of the slow pace in the beginning. That's my only reason. Otherwise, this was a classy tag team match. I had no major issues with it. It really delivered on all cylinders. It just wasn't... It had no build to it. They even tried to put a promo video to it. It didn't really pay off, in my opinion. Honestly, outside of Toni Storm and Rhea Ripley, there was no need for any promo videos. Even for the 8-man tag team match, I with Undisputed Era and Imperium, I didn't particularly think it needed it. I mean, the video only had it going for I think 2 minutes, and that was it. So there was some extra things that they threw on here that I don't think was very necessary because of the fact it didn't have enough story behind it. Outside, it was just a very good fantasy booking type matchup that you could actually make happen in real life type thing. But this match coming up with the NXT Women's Championship. Yes, folks, I'm saying Women's Championship, not the NXT title or NXT Championship. That is the most fucking ridiculous thing I have ever seen or heard in my fucking life. I can't believe what I've heard in the dirt sheets over this past week. And I will go on record saying this, and this is going to be a small rant. So, folks, if you don't want to hear the rant, fast forward through until you get to the part where I start talking about the freaking matchup itself. But quite frankly, folks, this is the most disgusting thing I have ever seen. Why is it degrading to go ahead and have the word Women's Championship for a title? This is the women's division. Why wouldn't you acknowledge them as the Women's Championship? It makes no sense to call it the NXT Championship. They already have a title they call the NXT Championship. What are they going to call the NXT Championship now? The NXT World Championship? If they do that, that works. But at the end of the day, it's a women's title. A fucking women's championship. Defining who they are as their gender. There's nothing wrong with that. It's not degrading. What is degrading is putting women in shitty-ass fucking matches that make no sense, are garbage, and go nowhere. And not to mention, making them be in bra and panty matches and do only 5-minute matches. I will say that is degrading. But when you go ahead and you tell me Becky Lynch, who wants to call herself the man, do you have a penis while Seth Rollins has a vagina? I'm sure he does, because apparently you have the balls and he doesn't. Anyway, not to sound sexist here, because I know that people might take it that way by watching this video if they even heard what I just said, is my point being is there is nothing wrong with calling it the Women's Championship. Because they are women, and they should be proud that they are women for who they are. That's it. Plain and simple. The nonsense that I heard by Becky Lynch, that it is totally wrong to have the women's, having the name NXT Women's Championship is bad, is crazy. I absolutely think that is crazy. And no, people, I am the first one to say, I do watch JD's show. JD from New York 206. But I will say that I did not watch that video not once. I read an article about this on my own. And I will say this, it is fucking retarded. There are so many things you could fix about the WWE Women's Division as a whole. Changing the name of a NXT Women's Championship to just the NXT Championship is the most dumb thing I have ever heard in my fucking life. Anyway, rant over, back to the match. So the NXT Women's Championship with Rhea Ripley versus Toni Storm. This match was by far the shittiest fucking match on the entire card. This match downgraded this show heavily. I did not like this whatsoever. It was slow. It was very boring in most cases. They were hard-hitting, I will give them that. And it was by far the worst match out of the series of matches that Toni Storm and Ripley ever had. This was garbage. I didn't care for this match at all. And I was generous enough when I did the notes to give it a 3 out of 5 stars. I guess I'm a nice guy. But quite frankly, this was not a classic matchup that I was expecting to see. This was garbage. I mean, it wasn't bad, it wasn't horrible, but it was nothing to the quality of this show. This show had everything going for it. It had good action, but this match, I'm sorry, it did not meet what I was looking for. It was crap. Just to read off some of the notes I wrote, match starts off slow, but then they had a couple of stiff exchanges in the corner until Storm delivered a German suplex to Ripley into a turnbuckle. This match didn't impress me very much. Match ends with Toni Storm trying to deliver a frog splash, but misses, and Ripley performs the Riptide on Storm for the win and gets the 1-2-3. The match was pretty much generic, so I am giving it a 3 out of 5 stars. There you go. So the main event, folks, and then we're going to be calling it a night, was Imperium versus the Undisputed Era. And once again, the Undisputed Era takes a loss. This is definitely showing signs that the Undisputed Era is coming to an end as a dominant force in the NXT brand. So giving you guys some insight on what I had to say and what I wrote. Riley and Eichner had a nice exchange of submission holds to start off the match. They went back and forth to kick off the match, and Alexander Wolf actually suffered a concussion later on as I watched it, and the match during the match, and from a kick to the chin by Bobby Fish. Walter comes in to take Wolf's place and connects with a massive boot to the face on Strong. There were some frequent tags made in this matchup as well, and I like the double teams they performed on their opponents in the match as well. Another element of this match that I liked, how everyone had a chance to shine in the match. During this entire spot that I put down that I actually really liked was all 4 members of Undisputed Era was trying to put Walter through an announce table. The one who actually got over on Walter after Riley kicked him right in the kneecap was Roderick Strong. Roderick Strong really looked good in this. In this matchup, he looked a lot better than he did in the match with Keith Lee. He really made up for what he did in that NXT North American Championship match, to be honest with you. Because there was another spot in this matchup that just was one of the highlights of this entire matchup itself. So the one that actually puts Walter through the table is Roderick Strong with an angle slam type of maneuver. And Walter actually gets back into the match later on, and he tags himself in and starts to build momentum. He is hit in the back of the head with a last shot by Adam Cole during this momentum build that he was getting, only to have the pinfall to be broken up. The action goes all out crazy at this point. So some things that the action that was going on outside there was action going on outside the ring as well, and Roderick Strong did a leap to the outside to the floor. Then Aichner runs up the ropes, literally one by one, runs up the ropes and does a breathtaking crossbody to the outside, which got me going, holy shit. That was a fucking nice move by Aichner. And Aichner, if you don't know who he is, he's a very tall, buffed up. He's not buffed up, but he's a strong dude for his size, and he's not a guy that you want to run into, you know. He will put you on the ground. Shoulder, if you did shoulder to shoulder, he probably would put you on the mat. If you were, you know, my height, I'm only 5'6". If you had a cruiserweight go up against him, which 5'11", even 6 foot tall, I think he could put them on their ass with a fucking shoulder block to the chest. So he ain't no small dude. At that point, Walter actually hits a running drop kick in the corner to Bobby Fish and performs a powerbomb pin for the win. And this match, I will say this, was a 4 out of 5 stars. It was pretty decent matchup, I have to say. I really didn't have any major issues with it. It was a good way to close out the show, I think. That Cruiserweight title match, man, I'm saying that's match of the night. Match of the fucking night, hands down. Jordan Devlin becoming the new Cruiserweight champion, I thought was great. It was unexpected, number one. Number two, there was high action. There was all kinds of action going on there. You couldn't possibly notate everything that went on during that match. That's number one. Number two, it was fast-paced from beginning to end. Everyone had a shot to shine. The only thing that I will say about that match that I didn't like was Isaiah Scott really suffered a lot of the offensive maneuvers, and he also eats the pinfall and the loss for Devlin to actually become the Cruiserweight champion. Now, the spot of the night was the amazing leap off the top rope by Aichner. Awesome move. Bottom line, that was one of the things that made me jump up during this match. I don't know how you guys felt. Let me know what you guys think about that, about my thoughts on the spot of the night, and leave your comments down below on that one. If you guys got another spot of the night that you guys did like from one of the matches we've seen here, let me know. I'll definitely get back to you on that. I want to know anyone else's opinions on that. And then moment of the night was actually the attack by Dakota Kai by Tegan Knox. I will go to say that was actually unexpected to me, that was unexpected. I did not expect to see that happen. Now, granted, it's kind of obvious that it should happen because Dakota Kai is there. She should expect to be looking over her shoulder, and she wasn't. She got attacked by Knox, and I get it, but during this had nothing to do with anything that was going on to the NXT show. So for them to just throw that in there just as a little bump to say, hey, folks, for the ones that are watching this show and the people that are here in the audience, you may want to catch NXT this coming Wednesday because we got a good show for you. So this matchup might intrigue some people who want to catch this over AEW and watch AEW second instead of first. So that's all I have to say about this show. Every match was good. I will say that outside of the Women's Championship match, which I will not be calling that fucking title the NXT title, I will be calling it the NXT Women's Championship because that's what it fucking is, number one. And number two, it has the word Women's Championship on the fucking thing. So, that's all I have to say on that subject. So at this point, I really don't have much to say. This was a good event. Was it anything worth, I mean, if you enjoy like a live type, this really did feel like a live show with no major huge build to it, with a couple of things here and there that got you excited. It was a fun match. A fun show, I should say. So, I mean, I got no complaints of it. It just, I didn't feel that the women's championship match lived up to its expectations, because that actually did have the most build to it. They actually have experience working together. They have a history. They are... Toni Storm just got out of a triple threat match that she ends up losing the match, actually. And I think she lost, I believe, or she might have been the person close to winning and then got knocked away from the pin by Kaylee Ray. But whatever the case may be, she actually lost a match, and now she lost another match on top of it, which is not good. But the way she lost was just... This match was just a fucking shitstorm of a match. I did not care for this. This was like a generic women's matchup that really went nowhere for me, at least. So anyway, guys, leave your comments and opinions down below. Hit the like button if you like this video, and hit the subscribe button if you're not subscribed to the channel, of course. And I'll see you again tomorrow when we review the Royal Rumble. Oh, God help us all. Bye.